Hello everyone, welcome back to Age of Nagash, which is a channel dedicated to Age of Sigmar. In this video we're going to talk about the potential of an Age of Sigmar box set coming out with Death in it. So I'm very excited to hear this sort of information that I've gathered from my local Games Workshop stores, and this information is a rumour that there will be a new Age of Sigmar box set coming out and it will contain Death in it. And the reason for this rumour is because I'm sure you're aware of the new Azerite Ruin box set that's came out for Age of Sigmar recently. Really nice plastic kit, which is a nice scenery for your battlefield. So the reason why this, which sounds completely irrelevant to a Death box set coming out, is important, is because how the stores have been told to paint this is in a grey, blacky, sort of green, ethereal look to it, a very much sort of Death look. And the reason they're told to paint them like this is to go on the intro table. And as the Games Workshop staff that I've spoken to said, if they're going on the intro table in that sort of ethereal look, it means that there's going to be a change to what goes on the info table in the terms of models. So he means that there will no longer be Stormcast versus Khorne. It won't be Vander's Hammerhand versus Khorne's Cole anymore, but there's going to be a new box set coming. And if it's all going to be, if all the scenery for this table is all going to be painted up in a very sort of Death ethereal look, it's really only just suggesting that it's going to be a Death box set with probably Stormcast, as they will have to be in every single box set Games Workshop over release. So what do I mean by the ethereal looking, stonework? From what I've seen in the local Games Workshops I've been to, it very much reminds me of the Something Stirs and Shaiish video, which they released, a little teaser, and that video, if you remember, was the one that they sort of showcased bits of what to look like a new black coach model coming out. So it came out, I think, a couple of weeks ago, that video, maybe even a week ago. And in that video, they showed us the snippets of a new Death model coming out, or potentially more than one, but I've done a video about that if you'd like to go and see it. However, the sort of part I didn't mention at all in that video was the very Death looking scenery, and these scenery pieces, as you can see on the screen now, are nothing new. That's the was called the Garden of Moor, and now I think it's called the Sigmarite Mausoleum, I think it's called now. That's where that's from. And then we've also got things like the Arcane Ruins, and I think the only other bit was again from the Garden of Moor set. So like I say, nothing new there. However, the paint schemes are quite new. Again, these scenery in this video was taken under some sort of like dull, gloomy lighting as well, so that's a part to it. But if these new Azerite Ruins for this intro table in every Games Workshop is going to be painted in the same scheme as this, which this is associated with a new Death release, it's only suggesting that there's going to be Death models going onto the intro table, and the only reason that would be the case is if they're bringing out a new Age of Sigmar starter set. So a few things you could bring up here is, well, they sort of already done that with a Blight War set. That was the Stormcast, is it sort of called the Vanguard Chamber against the Nurgle Demons. So that was sort of a new box set, and that came out not so long ago. However, they didn't use that for the intro table, certainly in my area anyway. They still keep on using the Stormcast versus Khorne, starter set that's been out since the start of Age of Sigmar. And like I say, it might just be in my local area that. However, as far as I'm aware of, Games Workshop is very organised in the sense of every store layout is pretty much the same, with allowing restrictions to, space and all that sort of thing. But their, intro tables have to pretty much be the same. So if again they're having to change their scenery for the info table to a very much Death looking scenery, again it is just indicating there's going to be a new starter box with Death models in it. What will be fantastic, there might be models we've already got, they could just be putting skeletons and so much in that box. However, I do think it will be new models, as they have showcased there is a new model coming out. It might even be a Nighthaunt in there, just because it looks like there's going to be a Nighthaunt model coming out in the forms of that potentially new black coach coming out. So it could be a good way for them to introduce some good Nighthawk models into that box. And yeah, so it just sounds really good. In the terms of what they're going to be fighting, I do think it is going to be Stormcast more than likely, just because Stormcast are the main, the main guys who keep the maintenance of order, shall we say. And of course, they are the poster boys, so they are more than likely going to be in this box set. But nevertheless, I base most of my Def models with Stormcast anyway, so if I buy this box set and I get Stormcast with it, fantastic. I don't have to go on eBay and buy like 30 Liberators to cut up and put them on the bases, because some of that will be included in this box set. So it's a win-win for me personally. And yeah, I mean, this is just a rumour, so it might not happen. I might be completely wrong. However, if it is going to happen, I do want to be one of the first people to call it, because I am so excited about it. And just to see what they do with it, really. If they are relaunching, well, not relaunching Age of Sigmar, but reintroducing a starter box, and to be honest, a starter box is a big part of Age of Sigmar. I mean, most of us, I think like 70% of people get into Age of Sigmar, something like that, probably start off with one of those, well, the Stormcast versus Khorne starter box, the big one that came out a while ago, just because it's a great value. And also I know every Games Workshop store, certainly in the UK, gets judged on how many of those boxes they sell. So if you're new and you go into a Games Workshop store, they will try and sell you one of those boxes. Not saying in a bad way, because those boxes are really good value and they do have 2 quite cool looking armies in them. However, they are rated on how many of those boxes they can sell, but they are not rated on how many Blight War boxes they can sell. So again, the Blight War did look like a new starter box for Age of Sigmar, but I don't think it really is. I think it's mainly just almost just like a bundle box, potentially. But so if they are rated on how many of these, Stormcast versus Khorne box sets they sell, and if they're being replaced by a presumably Def and Stormcast box set, it means they're going to try and encourage people to buy it, so they get a better score for that store, basically, for how many they sell. And if they're encouraging more people to buy it, it means that more people are going to buy Def, which more people are buying Def since the release of the Legions of Nagash Battle Tome anyway. There's no doubt of that. I mean, I was the only Def player in my store, and now I think there's about 5 of us, just because people like jumping on the bandwagon, and also Def is the coolest army of everything, so you can't blame them. So if a lot more people get into Def, especially with this box set, I'm not too sure how Games Workshop works, but it could be very much like, a lot of people are buying Def, that means we're going to make more Def mods for it. I don't know if that's how it works, but you do very much see that with things like Stormcast and Space Marines. So, to sum it up, this is a complete rumour, because I'm basing all of this idea on the fact that my local stores are painting their Azerite ruins in a sort of grey-black ethereal theme, which is associated with Def. So yeah, like I said, it's a complete rumour how I'm stemming from that. However, I mean, the managers I've spoken to, they've almost, like I say, hinted as much as they can, saying like, if we're painting them for our intro table, it might be the sign that, there will be a new models for the intro table. And whilst they were saying this, they were looking at and sort of pointing at the Age of Sigmar starter box, and saying that if we're painting, scenery in a Def theme, it might mean that there might be more Def models on the intro table, and the only reason why that would be is because there's going to be a new intro box set. So, like I say, complete rumour, but it's a rumour I really hope is true. I think there is a good potential it will be, because we know there is new Def stuff coming, especially in that new Sonic Stirs and Shaiish video. And also, no release date. Obviously, as I say, it's obviously just a rumour at the moment, so there's no release date. But I reckon, hopefully, this side of August. And I mean, that's quite a long time. However, we know what Games Workshop's like. For example, they said they're going to do Sisters of Battle in plastic, and they said that's going to be in 2019. They said with Shadespire they started doing loads of hints of it, and then when they released the date for it, it was like something like 5 months after they released their first hint. But with like Maggot King of Nurgle, they sort of let us know right at the last minute. So it's very much, we don't know when it's going to happen. Hopefully sooner the better, of course. And it would just be really nice to see them either add new units to existing factions within Death, or create whole new armies for Death. And the latter is what I really hope they don't do, because Death doesn't need new armies. It just needs to reinforce its existing armies. I mean, Legions of Nagash now is pretty much sorted, to be honest. It's pretty solid. You know, as how the army works, it's a lot more a joint force now, which is fantastic. But there are things like probably going from, you know, bottom to top in the terms of how many units they've got is probably Soulblight maybe has the least amount of units, or it's very closely joint with Nighthaunt, as they are both in need of just a model update, really. Not saying their models are bad, but they just like some new ones. On that subject, like Soulblight, their bat swarms, yeah, they are pretty horrific, but I just use the Lord of the Rings bat swarms, and I think they are perfectly adequate. And then after that is Flesh-Eater Courts. Now, I have many Flesh-Eater Courts. I think I have about 4,000 points in total of them, which is a lot, but it is a army that is built from 3 boxes, because essentially you've got your Ghoul box, which gives you, you know, your Crypt Ghouls and your Crypt Ghast Courtier. You've got your Crypt Flare box, which, you know, gives you your Crypt Flares, your Crypt Horrors, and then obviously the Crypt Infernal Courtier, who's like the leader. Well, I say he's the leader, he's the hero version of the Crypt Flares, and then the Crypt Haunter Courtier, who's the hero for the Crypt Horrors. And then the third box is your Zombie Dragon kit. That gives you obviously the Zombie Dragon, Terrorgeist, or the Ghoul King on either of those options. And yeah, of course you've got the Vargolf if you want to buy them separately. And yes, I mean technically that's like 4 boxes, but you usually just get the Vargolf. Well, how I got mine were from the huge Flesh-Eater Court bundle boxes when it first came out. I think it was called Someone's Court, I think, something like that. But anyway, so it's an army with essentially 3 boxes to it, which, you know, does sound pretty handy. And, you know, it is handy, but it would be nice if there were a few extra things in there. I mean, I think there's rumours or talks as well of the Carrion King, who's the sort of main character for the Flesh-Eater Courts, but you never see a model for. Maybe him, you know, materialising in the Mortal Realms in the form of a model would be really cool. So like I say, things like, you know, Soulblight, Nighthaunt, and then Flesh-Eater Courts would really like some models. I really hope they don't make a new Death army, because there's really no need. I mean, there's a good chance that, well, I say there's a good chance, there is the potential for them to make Death Stormcast, which in my mind, Death Stormcast just look like Stormcast but painted in a very sort of, you know, again, a dark ethereal theme or a very rusted theme or something, which I've seen some fantastic paint jobs on things like Facebook, or people have already done that. So because I feel like we've already seen that, I wouldn't like them to do it again. However, if Games Workshop is going to do, you know, like Death Stormcast or Nagash's Stormcast, however they want to call it, I hope they get creative with the models and not just make them pretty much exactly the same but a different colour scheme. I mean, it could be really cool. There could be some really nice models there, and it could be really nice in game, like Death units with really good armour saves and stuff like that, but I'm not too sure. I would just like them to reinforce the existing armies that need it, and then after that I'd be more than happy for them to add a like Death Stormcast, just to give us some Stormcast models, because if we've got Stormcast models, they should get a update like every day, like the traditional Stormcast Eternals do. So yeah, again, like I say, complete rumour. No, you know, it hasn't been confirmed. Obviously, no release date for it or whenever it would be. But everything starts off as a rumour, and I personally believe in this one quite strongly. I might be completely wrong. I might, you know, say all this and then, you know, a year from now people will be like, well, where's that box set you said was coming out? Yeah, I was completely wrong. However, I have faith in this one, and it'll be really good to see if it's materialised. And if it doesn't come out, hey, we still are going to get some Death models coming out in the forms of at least a black coach for Nighthaunt by the looks of things, which hopefully they will rework its War Scroll. which if they did that, who knows, it might do more than take up space in your army case. And of course, I haven't had that much experience with the Black Coach. I've used it a few times, and I've never used it in a Nighthorn army, so it might be quite useful on that. However, when I had that huge game at Warhammer World of over 10,000 points, I rolled, I think, in total probably about 12, 18 dice or something for the Black Coach in its entirety in that game to see if it went up a level. And basically how it works is you roll a dice for every Death Wizard within 12 inches of it in your hero phase, and then roll for 6, it goes up a level. And when I had, like I say, in 3 turns, I rolled a total of about like 18 dice, something like that, like 12 to 18 dice, and I didn't get any 6s and didn't go up any levels, and it made my hate for it even more. But again, that's just my personal opinion and from my experiences. So that's pretty much all the information I have, and when I say that's pretty much, I mean that is all the information I have on it. It could be a complete lie and could be just some GameSpot managers wanting to wind me up. However, I doubt that is the case, and I really hope that is not the case as well. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please let me know in the comments what your speculations are of it, or if you just think it's complete bollocks, or you do have faith in this idea that it could come true, and what you think that we're going to be fighting. I personally think it's going to be Stormcast, because I do. I mean, there's the chance it could be the Death Stormcast versus the actual Stormcast, and all it is just a box of Liberators, and you can paint some of them in a Death theme and the other ones in a gold and blue theme, and you can have really, fun with it, and you pay a additional price because it's in a nice shiny new box set. But I doubt that's very much going to be the case, because Games Workshop is not that annoying. So like I say, let me know what you think is going to be in this box set. I thank you very much for watching this video. If you've enjoyed it, please like, subscribe and comment down below. And as always, remember, until next time, Nagash is all and all is one in Nagash.